If Corsair means pirate ship, does that mean that I can use this to go get booty? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Sparkplug TV. My name is Chris and I do car reviews for literally everybody, not just car enthusiasts. Before I begin today's video, please don't forget to like this video, comment something down below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so that you get notified whenever I drop a new video, which is whenever I can. Thank you for your support. Now, the Lincoln Corsair is the compact SUV that is in the Nautilus, Aviator, Navigator, the Adventurer cohort of Lincolns that are now part of this whole brand. This was to replace the outgoing MKC and is based off the Ford Escape platform. The Corsair has been around for 2020, but for 2023, they have made some subtle changes that we're going to talk about today. So for the 2023 models, it comes in 3 trims, starting around $40,000, while this is the top tier Grand Touring for $55,000. Now, the only kind of qualm I have with this is the fact that they don't offer the PHEV for all 3 trims. This is the only trim that you can get the PHEV in. Why? The PHEVs at this point should be a little bit more accessible, especially in terms of a pricing point, and especially with the market heading towards electric vehicles. Why not make this accessible for all 3 trims? I don't know. I'm not the marketer. I'm also not the designer, but that's just my opinion. Probably the most notable update for the 2023 and on models is going to be the front fascia. It got a complete facelift, especially in the front grille itself. Albeit the utilitarian aspect of it has stayed the same in terms of the width of the grille and the airflow. They have extended the grille all the way to the bottom of the front fascia, including this silver trim down at the bottom. I'm a little indifferent on the way that it looks. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. I actually liked the smaller grille, I'm not gonna lie, especially it looked better with this lighting signature as well. But it's not terrible, and obviously they have to kind of go with the trend, I guess, in the luxury segment, which is these oversized grills. It does kind of give it a more commanding presence on the road, for sure. They didn't really change much to the back end of the Corsair, and I kind of like it that way. I think my favorite way to look at the Corsair is either back head on or a 3/4 angle from the back. It really is the best looking. I really love the light bar situation and the winged tail lamp situation as well. It kind of looks like a bird's feathers. Additionally, it's got a pretty ample storage capacity too, with 27.6 cubic feet storage and then 57.6 cubic feet with the seats down. The Corsair comes with 2 powertrains, 2 drivetrains, and 2 transmissions. The base model engine comes with a 2.0-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that outputs 250 horsepower. You can either get it in the front-wheel drive or the all-wheel drive drivetrain, but it does have an 8-speed automatic transmission. This is the PHEV version that comes with a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine that outputs 260 horsepower, that is then tied to a CVT transmission, has an all-wheel drive drivetrain, and is also tied to a 96 kilowatt electric motor and a 14.4 kilowatt hour battery pack. So do you want to save gas or do you want to have fun? The Corsair PHEV comes with either a level 1 or a level 2 240 volt charger. Now it takes about 11 hours for the level 1 charger to get to 100% and about 3 hours for the level 2 charger. I don't think that was the correct instrument. Enter the 2023 Lincoln Corsair PHEV Grand Touring. So, from a general aesthetic POV, I really like the way that it looks generally. I mean, we're not getting nitpicky yet. I wish that they had this material on the center console because I do think that the piano gloss black does kind of cheapen it a little bit, because I do actually like the fact that this has some texture to it and it's matte. I wish that this was not gloss and matte colored because they have it down here too. Why couldn't they put it in the center console? I don't know. In terms of some upgraded improvements on the interior, they have elicited now a 12-inch fully digital gauge cluster, as well as a 13-inch infotainment screen, including Sync 4 technology. The infotainment system itself is an improvement over the last year's model, but there are some degradations that I would find within it. One of them being this heated seat and cooled seat button. It expands this drawer that I just don't think is necessary. Like, it kind of gives you a second to figure out what buttons is, and then it gives you 2 different buttons to do it. So you can either slide this thing here, or you can click these buttons down here, which is redundant and doesn't really make any sense, and then it stays up there until it decides to go away. Same thing for the temperature control. It gives you two options. You can either do that or do this or slide it up and down. It really just, it depends. Both the driver and passenger front seats are adjustable with the bolstering as well as the lumbar and the butt bolstering. It's very customizable in terms of the seating, as well as you do have the massage option. Now, in terms of the gauge cluster is actually very simplistic. They really just kind of give you a circle with the speedometer and then the speed in the middle of that circle. And then it gives you some information off onto the right-hand side. Now, this does come with the Active Glide or the Blue Cruise. It's the Active Glide, but all of that information is going to be populated on the left-hand side of the screen. Even when you change the different drive modes, there's really not a whole lot of differentiation, and it's a very like simplistic gauge cluster. And some of it is customizable, but it's not like fully customizable. And I just don't understand why I even have this if it's not even going to be I mean, I personally would love like an analog speedometer in the center and then have like two screens off on the side. I think that would be really cool looking, but again, I didn't design it. The steering wheel is probably my favorite part of the interior. I know that that's silly to say, but I really love the two-tone. It has the color from here on the top, and then it has the color from this part down here, and then the majority of the steering wheel. It's this like two-tone color, and I really, really like it. But my favorite part of it is when you are using different aspects of the gauge cluster itself, it does change the different light situation and shows you different icons in the steering wheel itself, and it's really, really cool. And it's the same thing for like when you're using the phone, but then when you hit the cruise control button, it lights up the whole thing, which it's a really interesting take on the steering wheel. And I'm just really glad that it's not these haptic feedback buttons, and that they're real tactile buttons, and that it uses these kind of ergonomic buttons right here. With it. I've got two qualms about the interior. The first is this center console. It's a bit simplistic. I do like the fact that it does have this hidey hole drawer for your phone and this charging pad that does actually work. It just has to stay on there. It's a little too simple. You know what I mean? Like, it's like to the point where it's like kind of basic. The only thing that kind of saves it from its basic nature is the fact that it does project the Lincoln logo in the ambient lighting when it does decide to come on. But even like right here, like in the cup holder and the drive mode, there's really not a lot going on. The only other qualm that I have is the fact that I can literally tell that these window controls and lock buttons came out of an Escape. I can say too that the layout of the interior is giving Escape. Like, I can see the Escape in it, but obviously they have made it a bit more luxurious with all the trimmings and the trappings and the features and all that stuff. But I mean, this screen is literally out of the Escape. They just put a silver trim around it. That's kind of like a Stellantis move. Like, you know, they really do need to make some bespoke buttons for their luxury flagship products. You know what I mean? The seats are comfortable. I really like them. I don't know. I think that they still have some work to do on this. And that's not necessarily to say that it's not like horrendous. I mean, there's a lot of good qualities about it, but it's just not for me in terms of just a general appeal. There's that pedestrian sound. Now, I do have the EV coach on right now. And what I really like about the EV coach is how the parentheses kind of expands when you're driving to show you where it's going to be electric, and then it kind of dissipates as you're maybe like climbing a hill, or it's getting to be too much, or maybe you don't have enough electric power, you know, and then when you let off the accelerator, it shows you how much charge that you have to charge the actual battery, which I find to be very interesting and really intuitive, and I like it. So, I mean, 0 to 60 in the PHEV is about a second slower than if you were to get the naturally aspirated engine. Now, I don't know. I mean, you know, this is supposed to be like a luxury cruiser, and, you know, I've read articles that have said that they don't really like the way that it drives, or that it's like not really that exciting. You know, but it isn't that bad. I don't think it's really terrible to drive. I do think that there is a lot of road noise. I'm not gonna lie, between the tires and the wind noise at highway speeds, it's actually pretty loud in here for a luxury vehicle. I think the other thing that is probably a negative thing that could be said about it is the steering is pretty unresponsive. I mean, you can't really feel the road like at all. I think the one good thing about it is, you know, even though the engine note doesn't really sound that great, I do think that the engine isn't terrible, and I do think that, like, you know, 260 horsepower is a decent get up and go, and 0 to 60 in 7 seconds is also decent. I mean, this thing isn't purported to be a sports car, it's purported to be a nice luxury vehicle, and that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, it's got some decent giddy up. I mean, I'm not that unimpressed by it. It just seems really heavy, and this does have a curb weight of about 4,000 pounds. And it just doesn't seem all that confident around corners, if I'm not gonna lie. Even though it's a CVT transmission, it actually kind of acts like a step transmission, which I find to be very... See, it's like actually shifting. Well, that does it for today's video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell icon so that you get notified whenever I drop a new video, which is whenever I can. Thank you so much. To start with, what does it do right? It does the PHEV right. I think that the hybrid version, even without the battery, like just the hybrid nature of it, is really good. The fact that you can get up to like 25, 30 miles an hour on pure electric alone, even when there's no battery charge, is pretty impressive. What else it does really well is the transmission. You know, even though it's a CVT, it doesn't really act like a CVT. It actually kind of acts like a traditional transmission. And I think, like, you know, I think it's a pretty decent for, you know, a smaller naturally aspirated 4-cylinder with the PHEV nature, and for how heavy it is, I think it does pretty decent in the get up and go department. Now for the critiques. The ride quality, albeit is supple in the kind of day-to-day use, and it is very nice. It's just not, don't expect to be chewing up corners or throwing it around like a Q3 or an X3 or GLA or something along those lines. Like, it's just not going to do it. I mean, it does it well enough, you know, but it's not like, you can't feel the road with the steering wheel. I don't know. It's very numb. And then finally, I mean, in terms of like another compliment, I definitely think that, you know, it does do the 360-degree camera really well. It does do the blind spot monitoring really well. Yeah, I mean, I really like the way that the back end looks, and yeah, the interior is really nice, and it's a nice place to be. You know, is it an exciting drive that will blow your socks off and is like gonna be incredible on the road? I just have higher hopes for it. That's all I'm saying. I think that they still have a lot to work on with it. It's a good start, and I think that maybe they should focus a little bit more on the powertrain itself, and maybe sound deadening, maybe a little bit more sound deadening. I don't know. All right, and that's the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I am gonna go take a nap because I'm kind of tired. All right, bye. Hey Sparks, thanks for watching today's video. Do you want more Sparkplug TV content? Then you can choose one of these 3 options. Right over here. The middle button is to subscribe to my channel, so please do that. Right over here. These 3. I can't see them in real life, but they're right here.